Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll segue into another milestone, right? Billionaire. Conversation with Vlad Tenev, CEO of Robinhood. We sat down with him at the Robinhood Trader Conference. Shout out to all the good folks at Robinhood in Miami, Florida. And he shared a lot of great insight on the future direction of the company, amongst other things. So let's go to the conversation. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Welcome to a special segment of Market Monday.
Absolutely. On location. Yeah, absolutely.
So we are in Miami, Florida at the first ever Hood Summit.
Yes.
Presented by the good folks at Robinhood. Really an innovative idea to kind of bring traders together and talk about not just trading, but the whole community when it comes to investing in finance, and of course roll out new features to the illustrious Robinhood platform. So today we have our friend, CEO and Chairman Vlad Tenev, who's going to talk about everything that we just witnessed yesterday. So Vlad, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for being here in Miami.
For sure. Appreciate the invite. For people that may not have heard the news yet, if they are under a rock, you guys laid out a whole gambit of new products in your portfolio, right? So, what was the motivation to kind of revamp things? And also, what was the motivation to put together this physical in-person experience?
I think we had a really great path that led us to this event. So, first of all, Hood Summit, first biggest event we've ever done for active traders. And active traders are really the core of our business. I know you guys trade somewhat actively, futures, options. When Robinhood started, we weren't really focused on the more sophisticated active traders. We were really focused on first-time investors. And we wanted to make the best and easiest way for people to get started investing. And what we found was over time, a lot of our first-time investors became more active traders. They leveled up fairly quickly. And, part of that is just great content being available for free on the internet through YouTube and channels like yours teaching people about how to use these tools. And so a lot of our business and a lot of our most active customers were not newbies anymore. And they were less happy with Robinhood the more they used it. And so when we realized this, when we realized that our most active customers were actually the most dissatisfied with our product, we realized this was a big problem. So then we actually moved a lot of the resources and a lot of the best people in the company towards fixing that problem. And we fixed it relatively quickly. So within the first 6 months of moving our focus, actually active traders shifted to being the most happy customers we had. We fixed all of their issues. We changed the support model. But we didn't want to stop there. We wanted to actually create active trader products for the first time. And what you see with the Hood Summit is the culmination of that effort. So 3 active trader products built from scratch for this audience. And then we coupled that with inviting some of our most active customers to the event so that they could see us unveil them for the first time, so that they could have fun and mingle with each other and with us and learn how to use these tools. The event side of it was kind of interesting too. So we had an event earlier this year, the Robinhood Gold event. I think we talked a little bit after it. We announced our new credit card and the new redesign of the product. And the way we think about that, when I was kind of thinking through how I wanted to run the company last year, this idea of leaning into rituals really resonated with me. We're launching these products. It's great. We can share it on Twitter or X or what have you. But there's something really magical about bringing the entire community together in one location physically that I think had been missing throughout COVID and a large portion of the start of this decade. And we kind of wanted to bring that back. And we thought we would try it on small scale with the gold event, and that worked very, very well. And the gold event's really about our gold products, which are higher end wealth management type products that don't have to do with active traders. And once we saw how well that worked, we wanted to replicate it for active traders with the Hood Summit. And I think now we're kind of, now that I look at it, it's like something I want to do more of. Like, I love the idea of just having a rhythm of 2, maybe more events per year, and those events have different themes, and we announce products as well as bring different types of customers together. So I think we've got gold as one, active traders another. We've been thinking about crypto as well. Robinhood's big in crypto. We're doing a lot of innovation there. So at some point we might do a crypto event. And then, of course, we have an investor event that is like targeting our public shareholders, our retail shareholders. That's in December. So, yeah, very, very much, I think the world that I want to be in is like announcing all of the great things that we're doing at various events, layering earnings on top of that, which is another opportunity as a public company to engage with our broader community. And if we're constantly launching new products and bringing our community of traders and investors together, I think, I think for me, that's just a lot of fun. That's kind of how I'd like to spend my time and how I want the company to move forward.
Yeah, nothing better than actually listening to the active people in the community and announcing the new innovations to them. I think it was perfect. The keynote was amazing last night. And so you talked about a lot of the new features. I want to talk about one that we spoke about maybe a few months ago that has done tremendously well, and that was the 24-hour live trade. Yeah. When we spoke about it, it was only 24 equities at the time. Last night you announced that there's over 1,000. Talk about the impact that's had on your community and overall as a platform.
I think that's been huge. And we're in a competitive space. People have lots of choices for what tools they use to trade on. And what we want to deliver for active traders, and hopefully Hood Summit kind of evokes this, is that we want the active trader products at Robinhood to be for those that want to be at the forefront of innovation and technology and financial services. Sort of like what the AMG or F1 line for Mercedes is. Small niche market. Not everyone's going to want an AMG. But for those that really care about motorsport and performance, and they love driving fast and pushing your vehicle to the limit, and there's probably a smaller number of those folks. They really love it. And I think active traders are the same. Like, there's less of them. Most people probably prefer to manage their money passively, or investing is like a relatively small portion of their daily life. But for some people, it's pretty much everything. And so we want to be the place, the platform for an active trader that really celebrates the fact that it is an important thing. And you should have the feeling, if you're using our active trader products, that you'd be at a disadvantage using anything else. I think 24-hour market is an example of that. So when we launched in the US, there was nobody else offering it for individual stocks. I mean, you had some people offering it for small ETFs, things like that. But we came out there, we offered it for individual stocks. We now have over 1,000 on the platform. And what you're starting to see is, like on Sundays, even before market open on Monday, people are sharing screenshots and talking about how the market is responding to news that's happening on the weekends. And I think you just weren't able to do that before. And it was pretty much only happening on Robinhood, which also served our interests of putting our brand up there with as like being the place you go to see market news and market movements, even in off hours.
What are the time frames during the day that they can trade?
Sunday, it starts at 5 p.m. Pacific, so 8 p.m. Eastern. So it's kind of like, I think it works well for me personally. I mean, I know a lot of people on Sundays kind of start getting ready for the week. You've got your meetings on Monday. So part of my routine is like, I really start getting ready for the week. And and like what's happening on Monday alongside the market opening, 24-hour market. And that kind of gives you a sense for what's happening in the markets too. I mean, there have been so many weekend events that I remember just in the past year. One was the Discover Capital One merger. That news hit on the weekends, and you saw the market reacting on 24-hour market as well. GameStop, you guys remember GameStop? So a couple months ago, there was like a little resurgence of the GameStop mania, and that activity was happening on Sundays. And a lot of it was just Robinhood 24-hour market screenshots being shared. Even some of the OpenAI stuff, like when OpenAI had that little boardroom scuffle late last year, people were tracking the price of Microsoft stock in 24-hour market because obviously Microsoft was like a huge investor, and it seemed like they were scrambling a little bit to figure out what they were going to do when Sam Altman was kicked off the board. And so the 24-hour market became a way to track that in the public markets too.
As a futures trader, I have to say thank you. Can you talk to us about the innovation or lack of innovation that you saw in the space, and what features you plan to bring to the platform that allow us to be able to be more profitable as you introduce these features in?
Yeah, I think on the one hand, there hasn't been much innovation with like futures outrights. It's kind of been the same products. Maybe you see some innovation with like micros and now nanos, making them accessible to investors that, have smaller amounts. But I think in the same way that we kind of took options, simplified them, made them work really nicely on mobile, we could do that with futures as well. Unlike options, futures trade 24 hours. There's no sort of like restrictions and day trading, which I think complicates things for some equity and options traders. And they're capital efficient. Futures, very capital efficient product, which is probably why you like trading them and what makes them so useful. So in that front, we are leading on cost and user experience, particularly on mobile. But in some other ways, futures as sort of like a foundation for unique types of products has seen a lot of innovation. And now I'm talking about crypto futures, perpetual futures overseas, event contracts. If you trade event contracts, that's like a new and growing field. And all of that is basically an extension of like core futures infrastructure, which now that Robinhood's a regulated futures commissions merchant, we can get into outrights, but also expand to many other things in the future.
Is there any particular products in the futures segment that you're looking to focus on, or think the traders should focus on initially, or you'll just let the community kind of decide collectively which ones are best?
Well, what we demonstrated last night at the Hood Summit was certainly more of like the outrights, the index futures. Of course, we have like currencies, metals, energy as well. But event contracts are super interesting, and I think. One thing that I teased that I wasn't quite ready to talk about, but hopefully we'll talk about soon, is we think that there will be some surprise during the futures rollout. So hopefully we can introduce some unexpected things to customers, hopefully in as early as a few weeks.
So yesterday you spoke about, you kind of spoke about the journey of democratizing trading going back almost 20 years, right? And you spoke about how a lot of the brokerages have been absorbed by larger firms. And the picture that you painted to me sounded like, you're one of the few rebels that's still in the field, right? Fighting against the establishment. So talk about the importance of that, the danger in so many of the smaller brokerages being absorbed by larger firms, and your mission of still kind of carrying that torch of democratization.
When I was like really looking at learning about the history of the space, you learn some interesting things. So, for example, Charles Schwab, the creation of Charles Schwab was actually in response to a regulatory change in the early 70s, when fixed commissions became deregulated. So before then, you were required to charge a minimum commission per trade. That went away, and that opened the door to Charles Schwab. And Charles Schwab actually, their original thesis was no frills. We're not going to try to sell you anything. We will just take your trade over the phone. You'll call us. Our agents will process your trade. They won't try to upsell you wealth management services. They won't try to confuse you. And we're going to be a low cost, budget, phone-based order taker. And that kind of worked very well for them. And they expanded beyond that to what's now just a behemoth conglomerate. E-Trade. You guys probably heard the story of E-Trade. It started with someone who had bought an Apple II computer and got the idea that they should be able to use this awesome new consumer machine to trade stocks. So I think that in some ways the origin stories are similar to Robinhood. I mean, we saw the rise of electronic trading and the rise of mobile, and we're you should be able to take advantage of both electronic trading and mobile devices to be able to trade stocks commission-free on your phone. And we kind of combine those two things. But I think what happened is, as these companies get older and bigger and kind of get further away from their roots, they sort of forget about the customers and the products that got them to where they were in the first place. And I'm not exactly sure why. And I think these are great companies and they're doing their best. But there is also some benefit of being a new entrant in the space, not having to worry about the legacy, right? And not having to worry about maintaining these old systems on mainframes that are running from the 70s or 80s. So, it's hard for me to impute whether they don't care. Probably there's some element of not caring, but also that I think it's just it's hard for them to move fast and be responsive to customers, given how big and large they are, and how they've been acquiring through acquisition and stapling other companies and platforms together over the years. That's got them into a state where they probably can't be as nimble as maybe they would like to be. And that creates an opportunity for us.
Yeah, I think that's a huge advantage, is that when you're the new guy, you can look at all of the aspects of the old guard and say, we have flexibility to move on it.